as a female who is doing work, don't feel guilty. I was also very young in any group that I was, so I was quite often bullied.
What advice would you give to a woman entrepreneur?
I do see a lot of women give up a little too easily. You give the profession your soul and it gives you back a lot. I probably was a rebel, and I really compliment my parents and really give them that credit that, you know, they could tolerate all the rebel energy when I was young.
How do you keep the team on the same page? Like having 80 people working on a project.
I think you should replace sustainability and make it consciousness. I literally cannot sleep without watching a movie. I was watching a movie last night. I'll be going back home and watching one today.
You also feel like, are there any challenges left, or like we've done it all? Hey everyone, this is Shruti. Welcome to my podcast, I'm Just Curious, where I talk of all things I'm curious about with the people I'm curious about and how they turn their passion into their profession. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking to the visionary co-founder of ZZ Architects, a pioneering architectural firm renowned for crafting opulent high-end luxury spaces that redefine the essence of modern living. Krupa Zubin has established herself as a luminary in the realm of architectural design, shaping the landscape of residential and commercial spaces with a distinctive blend of creativity and sophistication. Join us in exploring the captivating journey of Krupa Zubin as she continues to shape the future of luxury architecture, one breathtaking design at a time. Hi Krupa, how are you?
I am fine. I'm in my own space, doing great.
Yeah.
But first of all, I have to thank you for all the positive energy that you get into the space today. And you've come from Kutch, which I really love because I also belong to the same, same place. And I'm very excited to have a creative discussion with you. Yeah. I love what you call it, being curious. I think that's what drove me towards your podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It means so much to me. You've been very kind from the first time we spoke on the phone, and even today, after all the delays and the everything that we had, you've been very easy breezy to be around. So thank you so much for that, first of all, and sorry for the delay that we had to.
You don't have to apologize. All the creative fields, we see this all the time.
Yeah.
Right? Because, I mean, at the end, what matters is what the product is.
Yeah.
And you go through all these ups and downs, and it's a part of the process. So,
totally. Thank you.
So absolutely accepted.
Thank you. That's very kind. So let's start from the beginning. You said that your roots are from Kutch.
Yeah.
Just like mine.
Yeah.
And so talk to me about, like, your time that you spent in Kutch, and were you always drawn to architecture? Like, describe me a 5-year-old Krupa. Like, what her interests were, and are her interests the same now, or it has changed?
I think, again, I never stayed as long in Kutch, but right now I feel, there's always that little connect that you have and you think you're going to go back there. Yeah. So I think I am going to revisit the place very, very soon. And as a 5-year-old, I've sort of been born and brought up in Mumbai, then Bombay. And I always was, somebody who wanted to be in a creative field. I was good at art, and, so architecture became a calling, but my life has been very organic.
Right.
So it's not something that I've planned. I don't have a plan for tomorrow. I never planned for this. And I think that is what makes it more beautiful. Yeah. So I think it's been a journey, and, as a kid, I was quite an introvert. So I wasn't, I think, and also those kind of aspects of your life, I was also very young in any group that I was, so I was quite often bullied.
Oh, okay.
So that made me very resilient. That made me very, I had a sense of observation because I would be quiet most of the time. And that made me the person that I'm today. And I didn't know I was acquiring those skills while I was still young.
Yeah.
So I had a little sense of fashion and love for fashion then. So when I see some of my old pictures, then I see myself wearing boots and jackets, and I still am the same person in many ways, right?
Yeah.
But I think saying that, after I sort of met Zubin, life has sort of transformed, and it's amazing the kind of synergy that we get into each other's lives, and the kind of principles he's so particular about. And I think as architects, both of us have really kind of gained from each other, in the field, and we are very particular and passionate about our work.
Yeah.
So that is what keeps us going every day.
It shows in your work, in your designs, everything that you do.
Yeah.
And so great. I mean, so talk to me about did you study architecture, or was it like you wanted to try out something else and then you were like, oh, you stumbled upon architecture? Was it like from day one, was it fixed that, okay, architecture is the thing that I'm going to do, interior design and spaces and all of that? Or was it like you saw people around you, or like you said, your husband or something, like did it start?
I didn't meet my husband much till the last year of architecture in many ways, and you know, it's strange that we had a very strong philosophy when we met, especially him, that no love at the workspace, and we were very passionate about work. So again, no compromise with work. So we never worked at the same place while we were working somewhere else, and we never worked from the same college. So it's a completely different story. How I tumbled upon architecture is, again, I think when we were young, you know, I don't know if you had that moment, but during our times, architecture was not the field. You know, it was all about engineers and doctors. And so those were the only fields that people spoke about.
Architectures were the rebels of that time, is
yeah,
what you're going to
that is the only thing I had. I probably was a rebel, and I really compliment my parents and really give them that credit that, you know, they could tolerate all the rebel energy when I was young.
Yeah.
So I finally landed into architecture, but there was something that drove me, is that I always liked the idea of change, right? So for a while when I was young, I stayed closer to my college because it made work more convenient, and all of that. There was always a constant learning. And in my life, I think even a lot of creators probably do that. I've always taken inspiration. Even today, I take a lot of inspiration from fashion, from travel, and you know, from the way I dress and the designers I pick. I mean, I love them. Like, you know, when I see somebody in the fashion world doing something really exciting, I mean, you have to see the kind of joy it brings to my face. I mean, it really is something that makes you realize that you can push boundaries, and there is no limit. So, you know, you kind of come back to work the next day and you say, wow, let me do something more than what I'm doing.
Yeah. I mean, it just broadens your horizon. Like, design is not just about, or architecture is not just about the space that you design.
Correct.
But like all forms of material and, you know, everything, fabrics and different construction materials, or everything that you can play around with.
Correct.
That's what, you know, makes it interesting. So that's lovely to know that, and it shows like in your dressing, you're like a proper, like a European. Like I feel like I picture you as like somebody walking down the streets of Paris.
But you know, contrary to that, I don't buy much in Paris.
Okay.
So I make many trips. I make at least 2 to 3 trips a year to Japan. And I love Tokyo. I mean, precisely Tokyo. And I think I learn a lot of, you know, how to be calm, and the sense of sort of respect for each other, and how to kind of make way for your neighbor. You know, smaller things. I think, again, like I said, it's about observation, and you kind of absorb what you do. So most of the designers, like right now, my shoe is from a designer who tends to make outfits merging 2 different pieces together. So all her works are actually pieces merged together. Then from works of Yoji Yamamoto only does black and now white after many years. So I mean, I think we've been visiting Tokyo for more than like a decade. Last year I went thrice, and you're like, okay, that's a lot. But I mean, every time I went, I think I am a different person experiencing the place, and the same place I go to isn't the same.
Yeah.
It just gives me new energy.
Yeah.
So I think it's just that. So I really go to Europe only for work, and we tend to shop a lot for our projects, maybe from there, but you know.
Get it completely.
The
but
inspiration comes from everywhere else, and a lot of movies that we see, and you know, music that we listen to.
Right. Great. Talk to me about, you know, you said that, okay, you did your architecture, and then you were like, I want to like take this forward, and I want to start my own firm. Like, was it like clear in your mind since beginning that I want to start my own firm?
Yeah.
Or was it like, okay, you know, I'll work with a few people and then see, I'll figure out like how to go forward? Or was the goal clear in your mind from day one? And how does one, like if somebody is watching, what would you say to them, you know, is studying architecture and, you know, taking the traditional route important, or somebody can be a born architect also, like without like getting a degree? Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah. I mean, see, both of us are architects, right? But both our journeys have been quite different from each other. And I think if you say born to be an architect, he probably knew that he wanted to be an architect when he was 6 years old or 7 years old. I mean, that is what he loved and that is what he wanted to do. And in my case, I graduated into it without meeting him. We've got nothing to do with each other for a very long time in our life. But the point is, if you are going to choose to be an architect, whatever your journey may be, is going to be independent of the other person. And but you have to love doing what you do. You know, architecture is by far not a field that is an easy field, or not even something that can give you instant gratification, as in what you design will get built. Wow, it feels so great. But in terms of success, pace, it takes its own sweet time. So you need to love going back to work the next day, do what you do. So if you kind of love the field, please just dive right in. And you know, you're here to kind of change the landscape of the country and the city. But if you're only doing this because somebody else is doing this, then I think you need to venture deep in, because as of today there are so many micro and macro fields. Like unlike when we were there, like I said, it was like being a doctor, being an engineer. There were like top 2-3 things that you could do.
Right.
And so I think today, I mean, you see a lot of research analysts. You will see somebody who's a material specialist, and you'll see architects who are probably not doing architecture but doing an ancillary thing. So I think the options are many. So I think one needs to really kind of question the purpose.
Right.
And for us, what's been important is the purpose of what we are doing as architects. And both of us kind of support that philosophy strongly.
Right. Talk to me about, so ZZ Architects, is known for the opulent and grand, larger than life spaces, that we see on your Instagram also. What led to the inception of the brand in 2002? And from there to here, like, how's it been? What do you feel?
See, 2002, we started off with the intent that we had to do something and achieve something, right? Because I mean, we had to get married. So to cut the chase, I don't think we had much of an option there, because we had to prove ourselves as successful people in order to be together. And I think so architecture was this binding spirit between us, and we started the practice. We won our first award as Young Architects, which is younger than young. It's a long story, but that gave us that little impetus. And none of this is planned, So we started with a very small footprint of an office that we did for ourselves. That won us an award. The next project won us an award. And now we don't really, that's not the thing that you say that you have to kind of do this. Now you're only focused on work. But at that point, it probably meant a lot, And see, as architects back then, you took what work came to your desk. But now I guess over a period of 2 decades being in the industry, you sort of know what you want to do, and you know that I want to contribute. I mean, at the end, you want to just contribute and give back to, the society and the client. And when you think you can do that, you take the project up. I mean, it's much like what you're doing. I don't think when you started the podcast, you knew that where it's going to take you. Right? And that's I find your journey very exciting too,
That's very kind of you to say that. Talk to me about some of the biggest projects that you worked with. Which one has been the most exciting out of all, and which one has been the most challenging? And have you received any unprecedented requests from your clients that you had to accommodate, and how do you navigate around those kinds of, if somebody watching and some client has given an architect a crazy requirement, how does one navigate through that, because I'm sure you must have gotten many. So how do you do that?
But as architects, I think most of us as architects, I would believe, love those kind of requests, because that kind of modulates you to do something totally different, right? So now you're doing homes which have golf simulators, and they have bowling alleys in the house, they have shooting ranges, they have mini zoos. And I mean, at one point, if you had to question us years ago that you think, this is going to be the future, we would have said, we would have questioned it too, right? I mean, but I think there is a sense of evolution and gratitude while you are in the profession, I think you give the profession your soul, and it gives you back a lot.
Yeah.
Like, and I think it goes true to any field that you're a part of, you know. So even in terms of challenge, there was a very nice book that I was recently reading, and I mean, it kind of makes sense, you know, that if you had to spend 7 days at the same place every single day, the kind of experience that you would have would be different, you know. And I mean, say you're reading a book, and if you had to read the same book twice, you know, you would kind of take away something totally different from the book.
Right.
If you enter a stream of water, if you enter the same stream twice, the second time around the experience won't be the same. So it's all a part of the flow. And the idea is that you just kind of be a part of the flow and
let it take you where it has to.
So even a challenge, you know, something that may have been very challenging to us yesterday, today it almost feels like it's like an obvious solution. And you may have really struggled, and you may have done a lot of R&D for that. But I think it's we are just a part of a larger flow, and you and I mean, these
all
brilliant camera,
you
know, people out here. I think we are just meant to do and be at some place at a point in time.
Right. But having said that, like, I asked that challenges, but is anything really even a challenge for ZZ Architects now? I don't think so. Like, I feel like you guys have got it all sorted. Like, now it's like, bring it on. Like, we can take this. Like, I get that vibe in a really good, like, you know, leveling up way, that you're constantly, like, you've reached a level, but I see that you're still leveling up. So do you also feel like, are there any challenges left, or like we've done it all? Like,
no, you've never done it all. I'm telling you, I mean, it's just that I feel like we just begun yesterday. In the sense, like, it's just that you have years of experience, and you're not starting from point zero, but at some point you're starting from zero at every project, you know. And also, I think we have about 80 designers with us odd, and you know, the philosophy that we have at work, that whole relentless thing that we want to do the right thing on a project, it trickles down to the very last person in the organization. We kind of share our knowledge constantly. I mean, I think we've also evolved as architects, as leaders in terms of our organization, and we said, okay, how do we do things differently? So, you know, we shut our office once a year for about 8 days, 10 days. At the end of the year, and trust me, when we come back at the end of the year, on 1st Jan we resume work. The team sometimes comes on 2nd Jan, but that last 10 days of December, we just think as to what will we do when we go back, and we just thrash a lot of our systems, and we say, okay, this is what we're not going to do, this is what we're not going to do, and those days give us that little passive time to say, we literally change all our standards of working, our formats, and a lot of things in that first week. And then we have comprehensive meetings with our team and sort of brainstorm, and you know, and that's not about design, that's just about how we want to do things this year. And I think to introspect, I don't want to make this conversation very serious,
no.
but to kind of introspect and you know, just constantly look inwards and say that this is our purpose and this is how we want to do things is also very important. You know, so.
Yes, absolutely. I completely agree with that. It's like starting from a clean slate every year, which always is a good thing to do.
Correct.
You know, because I read this quote and I used this as a caption also in one of my pictures on Instagram. And it was so, like, it's such a small thing. It said, like, Mondays are mini New Year's. So, you know, like, somebody even thought of that, you know, we take like a 1st January as a reset period, but actually every week also we get an opportunity to, like, start fresh if you know, needed, and if we want to or something.
Correct.
And why somebody wrote that, because it is important to, like, forget, like, what we did, or like, okay, great, this is what we did, keep the learnings and keep the good things and everything, but move ahead and, like, do bigger, better things. Right.
So like you said, you know, a lot of people say, God damn, it's Monday. Here you are like, wow, it's Monday. Like, you know, you have a chance to start absolutely the way you like.
That's why I release my podcast on a Monday. Because, like, it's the first day of the week and it sets the tone for the rest of the week. How you spend your Monday. Like, there are days I'm like, when I work out, I'm like,
on Mondays, like, even if I know that I'm traveling the rest of the week or something, but I'm like, Monday, if I'm there in Gandhidham, I'm like, Monday I'll go. Like 1st of Jan was a Monday, and I skipped like after that a few days, or like I went half a week or something. And my instructor also, she's so sweet. I'm sorry, I'm like digressing a little bit. But so my instructor, she's also so sweet. So she keeps messaging. She's like, I want you to come today. Like, you know, don't miss it. And I'm like, see, I was going to. Now that you messaged, and still I'm going to, but thank you for messaging. So she's like, come, like, you know, like she's very like happy and supportive of me and whatever. So I'm like, Monday I have to be at the workout. I don't care for the rest of the week what I do, because it sets your vibe. It does something subconsciously to your psyche.
Yeah, but I think it's, again, I mean, it could be a Monday for somebody, it could be like a Sunday for somebody. I think Sunday is also equally crashing. Like, you know, you can do so much at home on that day.
Yeah.
But I think it's important, like you're saying, again, somebody that you kind of collab with, right?
Yeah.
Our field is full of collaborative work.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's beautiful.
Yeah, the first working day, basically, you know. Of course, as an individual, any day can be your Monday. But like as a working, when everybody is working, that day becomes like a little different, like that. Great. Talk to me about, you know, some design philosophies or principles that you guys follow at ZZ Architects. Like, what is the foundation and base that you built upon? Like, say for example, a project came to you. Where do you guys start? Like, if somebody got a project, if somebody is a new architect, and if they want to know, oh, this is such a big architectural firm, what is their process like?
See, I think, you know, again, process is something, it's something that just strikes at the moment. And our process is quite detailed, but at the same time, it could be different for a different project. You know, sometimes a conversation that a client had in the first meeting just gives you a picture of how his house is going to look. I mean, it's funny, we've had one meeting with somebody recently in the south, and when we are coming back in the flight, we are sketching. You know, and we are like, okay, this is how and it's just like a 2-hour conversation.
Yeah.
But, and it's got nothing to do with materials, and we've just seen something, we've spoken to him, and we thought, okay, this is the house the guy needs to live in.
Yeah.
Now, it's another thing how the process will be received from there, and how it will go further from there. Sometimes it's just the site, you know, whether it is the kind of materials that are easily accessible out there, and that could be something that will inspire, you know, what you're going to do out there. So I think the spark can come from any sort of source, but the thing is, you just kind of, like, it's like writing a book or making a movie.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes making music and you say, this is my note or this is my tone.
Yeah.
And then you say, I'm beginning from here. You know, so I think something like that. And
can you give an example of one thing that you did like that, like one project that a very random thing became like a foundation from where you guys took that as a seed and then built up?
Correct. There are so many things because the challenges are so kind of, you know, unique on different sites as such. But, you know, there's another site which we've just kind of handed over right at the Worli Sea Face, and that is something that we did for...
About?
Yeah.
Actually saw that on your page.
Okay.
And right now when I was coming through Sea-Link, I even saw that.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
It's such a subtle landmark, you know. So the idea there was, the client came in and, you know, it's a very lovely diamond family from Surat, the Dholakia family, and I mean, they came in and they were like, okay, we want to do this in 6 months. 6 months eventually became 8 months because they were having a wedding in the family, which is fantastic for us because we kind of appreciated 2 months extra, but it's still a lot less time for a job of that scale.
Yeah.
But the idea was again to create a very subtle, yet a, you know, like a timeless elevation and a facade right there. Create, you know, immense amount of detailing that could that hold true as a part of a city landscape, you know, and that's what we achieved there.
Right.
Now, I don't think that would be true to any place other than that in many ways. And I don't want to go in depth into one project because there are so many of them.
Of course.
But I think those kind of factors really play, you know, an important role in what you finally build. You know.
Right. You said that, you know, when you met this client and then in 2 hours you could picture that, oh, what kind of house this person needs to live in. So by the end of this, I'm going to ask you, what do you picture? What kind of house do you picture me living in?
You would be the future. We would be like, okay, maybe hey Siri, like switch on the screen and you have a larger AI wall with, your podcast showing. I mean, obviously, I think it'll be more seamless, flowing space, no walls to barricade your space, and a very kind of energy thriving space for yourself. But I think again, spaces are a series of conversations that you kind of have with the clients, and also they have a lot of different factors. For us, quality, fit, finish, all of those factors are so important when we are doing a project, and that is what we hold true to. The rest is something that we are building for a client, or you're building for the society at large. And I think for all architects, it's that, right? The client is probably just the center point of what they're making as such.
Right. Talk to me about, so there are so many different kinds of materials that are coming into the market, right? And what are some of your favorite materials to work with? And how do you keep updated with the technology, like updating technology, trends, stuff, talk to me about that.
When it comes to tech, I think tech is something that makes people very anxious. So when we are using tech in projects, and as a firm, we've been very driven towards technology from the time of inception. So that has helped us not only do projects, but formulate our method of working, use the fact that we are doing projects outstation, but we are connected to what is happening out there. So all of that. But when it comes to homes, we are very sensitive on whom you're designing for and what's the generation that's receiving the tech. Because I strongly believe that, tech is supposed to make life easy.
Right.
It is supposed to kind of make you more comfortable and not make you anxious and uncomfortable. So that's principally about tech. Like now you look back on time, like, I think even you must have, and even we've seen the age before Google and then after Google in many times. And I mean, as a part of our life cycle. And also now if you see, you're going to feel that the timelines may suddenly be defined by before AI and after AI, because years, in the next 5 years, things are going to be very different. You're talking about AI and intervention within all workspaces by these mediums. But at the end, I feel as an architect, in our field, for instance, the very fact, the touch and feel of material or something like that will never be replaced by tech. But tech is great to imbibe into projects and to simplify stuff.
Right.
Like, so now when I'm sitting here, I mean, at home, I know it's what, 6 o'clock, 4:30, my curtains come down. I don't have to call anybody. And because I don't want my books and my art to get faded. So, and at 6:30, it'll go up for sunset, So I think now this is only possible because of tech. So many such things are so handy, when you start using tech.
Right. But coming back to, what materials do you like to play around with? Like what are some of the favorite materials that you like to use in a project?
I mean, I think we love natural materials as such.
Right.
And, but one is to retain the material as authentic. And so whether it's wood or stone, we love natural wood, glass. I mean, so the idea is to kind of then experiment and push the boundaries of these surfaces to the next level.
Right. Yeah. And how do you incorporate like sustainability in, because construction is such a, not so environment friendly industry. So how do you make sure, now what are the practices that you follow to make sure that you can do your bit in terms of sustainability?
I'll tell you honestly, in our industry, I think a lot of people, I'm sure, are making great attempts to, get this absorbed within the spirit of and the organization. I think you should replace sustainability and make it consciousness. So I think if we can just simply be conscious in our daily lifestyle to begin with, and then let these filter into our work also. It's a huge thing, because if all of us had to be conscious about being sustainable, then we could really kind of push and make things much easier. But when it comes to like a level where we are doing design and all that, I think all of our team members we have a research and development team, and all of them are constantly involved in saying, what's the next thing to kind of use, solar power most efficiently and do the rainwater harvesting most efficiently, and kind of retain the natural aesthetic of the site without damaging in the process of design. So I think that process is always something that's a part and parcel of your process and work culture.
It's delicately woven into it, so you just have to be aware to take care of these things.
And I think it's never going to be enough, the way, the pace at which we are growing as a country, and it's even faster now, for instance, and with that we need to constantly be overlooking what can be better.
You mentioned your team, and you some 80 people, now have, you're a family of 80 people now. So how do you keep the team on the same page, like having 80 people working on a project with, having a cohesive vision for it? How do you manage to do that? And what are some of the lessons that you can that you've learned about team building that you would like to share?
No, I think it's amazing. If our team wants something from us, they will get it.
Okay.
So they're an amazing bunch, and I think, see, it's again, it's like meditation. There is
interesting.
No, it's like that you have to constantly reassure yourself that you are kind of letting it pass, like letting the time pass or letting things happen the way they are meant to happen. And it takes conscious effort, years of conscious effort, to say that, okay, now we've arrived, that we work like that. So a lot of learnings on the way. But, when it comes to the team, I think there are a couple of things while building the organization that we've kept in mind. And one of them being that we really want to enjoy the people that are in the office and kind of we feel like we want to come back to our workspace every morning. And that's got a lot to do with the synergy, the energy that we have in the work studio. Initially we were like a part of being the center of the work studio and saying, okay, this is how things are meant to be done. But today we realize we have a pool of talented people, and we let a lot to our team, and we give a lot of space because they're all talented and they're all involved in what they're doing. And it's a beautiful process, and at the end you need intervention, that this is the time to intervene, that's when you come in. So I think we love that, and I think they equally enjoy what we are doing out here. So it's a part of, it's a part of a culture again.
Right. But are there like certain rules, like say for example, when you said you take like those 10 days are off for everyone, and then everyone recharges and comes back.
Correct.
So are there any other like things like that or rituals like that that you guys follow?
Yeah, many actually. Every year we add a ritual.
Okay.
I remember last year we have a thing that, twice a year we tend to just take 4-5 days away from our work. One is my birthday, one is his, and he's on Republic Day. I'm on Diwali.
You are November.
Yeah, I'm
13th of November.
12th. So
Okay,
I'm
12th.
like exactly where Diwali was last year.
Okay.
And so when we were there, and we were sitting somewhere, and then I said, it's amazing, if it's not fair that the team can't be holidaying on the birthday without losing a day, paycheck, right? So we said that apart from whatever else that is there, you can just not come on a birthday, and no questions asked, no paycheck.
So everyone's birthday.
But if you come, then you can't compensate. This is like only for your birthday.
Oh, okay.
So
it's very nice.
So we have a lot of couples, for instance, who are in the office, and I suddenly asked, where's he? He said it's his birthday, he's home. And she's working. So, I said that's quite beautiful.
Yeah.
But, things like that. Then we have a movie a month. And initially we used to decide all the movies, but now the team kind of comes back with a lot of movies that they watch, and they're all inspirational. And like I say, movies, music is a great learning. So we have a theater in our office, a really kind of a sizable theater. And we have TT, we have chess, we have carom, and that's something that we added in a couple of, maybe last year. We made this office while, it's the most fun thing that we did. We moved our studio post-COVID, post the second lockdown. And it's amazing, that time people were saying that offices are no more, like nobody's going to get back to the workspace, right? And that is when we built this office, right? And while that was going on, we were actually making this, and we said, okay, no, everybody is going to come back here. And they were all so excited. They said, okay, this is it. We love coming back to the workspace. So I think it's again the way we are wired, and you know, it's a very, very casual but serious place of work. So when you're working, you're serious, but when you're not working, you can just be
Chill.
who you are and do what you want, and it's
Yeah.
absolutely fine.
Talk to me about, you know, you also have started your own line,
Yeah.
you know, of interior design objects and, you know, interior design pieces basically.
Correct.
Talk to me about that. Like, what inspired you to do that, and the story behind it?
Yeah. So like I mean, we do a lot of architecture and interior design projects, and we also do a lot of bespoke products within our projects, you know. So I think it's also like we were not ambitious when we started off, but like I said, it's like a pursuit of purpose. So at some point we thought that I thought we needed this. You know, we were using a lot of international fabrics, and we were using a lot of we wanted to do a range. I wanted to do a range which was made in India and as sensitive to design as we are kind of, you know, telling people to take. So with that intent, I kind of began this, and it was received so well. So a lot of the idea was not to give it to my clients, but to be able to reach out to many other people whose work we are not doing.
Right.
You know, so it was amazing. I just accidentally launched at one place, and there were so many people who came from Raipur and Indore and a lot of different cities, and a lot of young guys who were probably on my Instagram.
Yeah.
And they were like, we just came to see the launch. And I said it wasn't even a planned launch,
Yeah.
but it was very, very heartwarming. It's been received well. It's in 50 stores in India. And I think next week I do possibly, I think by the time
Ahmedabad?
your podcast is out, I would do another release of something.
Oh, nice,
So,
nice.
so I think it's something that we love, and I think we're doing this all the time. So we said, again, you know, it's just a passion-driven thing, and we did it. It's nice. We're doing it again,
Yeah,
and it'll
yeah.
just kind of grow from there.
Yeah. It seemed like an organic extension of what you're already doing,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah. So we just, the limit is again our own section of expertise, and it's within that format.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But can you talk about the new range that you're working on? What is it about? What's it inspired from?
So it's actually again to the entire fabric range is to get calmness within the house. So the idea is that if you are last minute coming to shop your fabrics, you should be able to take any 2 pages on that sample card and say these work together.
Right.
And so everything is being chosen and done to the effect that the colors will go in, the textures will go in, there's no problem. You know, and we do it often, we just blind pick and say, okay, this is also going well together, you know. So the whole beauty is that, but now I'm getting into other aspects of the home,
Yeah.
like, you know, like
kitchen,
beds,
tableware?
and, you know, like beds and
Linens.
yeah, scents, you
Oh,
know.
wow.
So I mean, I think, so it's not very far away. Next week it'll be out. So hopefully it's just right there. You're the first one to know.
Yeah, great. I love it.
So yeah, so I think this is, and it's like I have a separate team. So it doesn't happen here.
Yeah.
That's a different office. That's a different management team. They're excellent people, very, very, you know, passionate. So I love working with that team. I love working with, you know, this team.
This team.
I think it's a synergy. It's how much joy it gets you, you work even more.
Yeah, true, true. Talk to me about, you know, some of the people that overseas or in India whose work you have admired, and some of the projects that they might have worked on. You're like, I wish I did this. You know, I wish I had gotten this project. This is how I would do it.
Yeah.
You know, talk to me about that.
I think we never feel that, you know. I mean,
No.
it's, I
Because
always
I think-
feel that it is.
Because I think in India, you guys are the one where people look up. So let's just be very honest here.
No, everybody is doing some amazing work. I mean, I love the contemporaries in our country, and each one is in their own segment, and
Right.
you know, kind of crafting
their own
work.
vibe.
Yeah, so I think it's beautiful. But only the space that I'm in, I mean, what happens is that we take a lot of our inspiration from different segments of creative, you know, genres. Like,
Right.
honestly, we watch a movie every day.
Okay.
So I literally cannot sleep without watching a movie. I was watching a
Wow.
movie last night. I'll be going back home and watching one today.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, so that's why we got the movie culture back at the studio.
Right.
Because we learn so much from it. So we said, you know, the team will enjoy it too. And, you know, and I think it's lovely how even seeing a movie all over again gives you a new perspective.
Yeah, we talked
So
about
we,
it.
yeah,
like,
we watch, I love manga again.
Okay.
I'm not mixing it up with anime. Anime is different, but I love reading manga. So we've got these are like Japanese graphic novels.
Okay.
And it's beautiful the way they teach you things. Like, so if you're reading a manga on food, like I have seen an anime on food and gone and made my first dish from Japan in the kitchen. And I said, okay, let me pause it. I wrote down what is here. I rushed to the kitchen and I made it, and it was brilliant. So I think the beauty of these things that we kind of see is that it teaches you so much in return, and then you are like, it's like life on fast forward, right? You don't have to go to a place to learn it. It's right there in your house.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful, yeah. And I mean, I think music, some of these music directors, musicians in India are doing such a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
It's like from, so we're taking inspiration from India, globally, French movies and Telugu, Hindi, Tamil, all kinds of movies. And I love watching on subtitles.
Right.
Again, music which you don't understand the language is even more beautiful.
Yeah.
Because
I
when you're
agree.
working, then you are like it doesn't interfere, but the beats are so nice,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all of that. A lot of fashion designers that I look up to, whether it's Comme des Garçons or Yohji Yamamoto or, so Issey Miyake, like this is Issey Miyake, and Sakai. So I mean, all these designers, I really feel there is something that I've learned from them, and I have huge respect for them. I think inspiration is endless. And I think even architects, all architects, all designers that you see in our age group or even younger than us, each one will have like a very different story to tell, and every story is going to be as powerful, I think. So we love seeing biographies of designers, and how their life has been. We watch a lot of them. So we're watching something on YouTube very often.
Right.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I feel like I asked you, like, you draw inspiration from what I gauged as like movies mostly, food as well is a little bit part, and I think Japan is a really big that part of who you are as a person, I feel like.
Yes, I
Because
kind
you
of
mentioned Japanese artists and designers and brands and food and everything.
yeah.
So I feel that, and I feel like there is some connection that you have with Japan.
Yeah.
I don't know, it comes very evident to me.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if it's...
No, I do. I mean, huge respect. I think we've gained a lot from there, and also every time we've gained, we want to come back and put it in our work.
Right.
And it's not like, it's again that, it's, this is again something I read probably somewhere, but it's that greatness cannot be, copied. And or imitated. Greatness cannot be imitated, but it helps you just get your inner barometer of greatness to a certain level.
Right.
You say that each time I do something, I want to do it like that. And I think all of us go through that phase where we kind of push ourselves, and so so it's it's just that. But we derive a lot of inspiration from many other things, even from architecture that's done within our country. I mean, Charles Courier's work have been outstanding, and you feel like he should have built more, and I mean, it's even the young designers that you see, I think it's a project that you will see that you'll say, wow, what amazing stuff is happening. You may not follow the particular history of everybody, but at any time you open a magazine and you sort of read it, you feel there is so much to take away.
Right. Yeah. And I completely resonate with that music thing that you said. Because I don't understand French, but I listen to French songs. Say, for example, even South Indian. Like, there are some really good South Indian songs that have like really good beats. I don't understand a word. I don't even know, because South also has like different languages like Telugu, Kannada and all of that.
Yeah.
I don't understand a word. I don't even know where it's from. But I listen to it and I'm like, this is cool. Like, then it makes me think of a particular thing, and it puts me in that zone and in that mindset. So I completely resonate with that, the music thing, because I myself do that.
Yeah.
Talk to me about, what advice would you give to a woman entrepreneur or an aspiring female architect in this country? How, what she should be expecting.
Yeah.
And everything? Like, what are your experiences been, and like, yeah, what advice would you give them?
See, I'll tell you, as a female who is doing work, don't feel guilty. Don't, if you're a mother, if you're a, home, I mean, you're married, you've got responsibility, don't feel guilty about doing work. I mean, because I think the idea is not the amount of time that you spend with your child. It's about the quality of time that you will spend at home with your family. So I think it's again creating a lovely balance, and I think as women we are blessed with the power of multitasking. I think even a homemaker, I don't think anybody, I've seen so many homemakers as clients, as my mother's a homemaker, and a very proud one at that. I mean, your mom is here, and I think it's amazing that she's here supporting you. But I think, you just have this whole innate ability to do many things at the same time, but not knowing you're doing it.
Yeah.
And not feeling the pressure that you're doing it.
Yeah.
So I think just that advantage is only with the women. So take that advantage. And I think at large, I don't look at myself as a woman or a man. I just feel it's something that you are meant to do and you do. But I do see a lot of women give up a little too easily, and see, at my point, when they do, as a boss, you may not be able to kind of push them too much into it because it's not right. But I think you need to just let that phase go where you feel it's getting a little difficult. And once that phase passes, things settle down itself.
Exactly. Exactly.
I've grown up. I mean, I got married very early. Very early means I got married and I got a child very early, little less than I was expecting one. So, it was also fast, but my child's been a blessing. She's taught me so much, and now she's getting into the design world. So I think she spent most of her time, being a part of our schedules and our crazy schedules.
Whatever you just said, I felt like, it was somehow like meant for this friend of mine recently. Like, so before coming here a day before I was supposed to come for the shoot or something, she called me, and she was having some anxiety, some separation anxiety about her, about her child or something.
Yeah.
And so she was talking to me about that, and I was listening and everything. So I think whatever you just said, I think will resonate with her.
Yeah.
That, because she's in that zone right now where she feels like that, anxiety about the separation from her kid.
Yeah.
So like you said, not to feel guilty or not to have that anxiousness within you.
Yeah, because a lot of times, I mean, adapt. I mean, if you feel that you're having that, tell your bosses or make time. You make a FaceTime call from your office every hour. Do a video call. They'll be sleeping, they'll be playing. They don't, so I think there's a solution to everything, and just work around it, and you find your way.
Right. I wanted to also talk about your social media game.
Yeah.
You have become like an architectural influencer of sorts. You have to admit that. Like, people follow you, like you said, young aspiring architects also follow you.
Yeah.
And they are happy, and they get this good vibe, and they like into it, and they like follow your journey as well as like your whatever the events that you're planning and doing, right?
Yeah.
How do you do that, like amidst like such a crazy schedule that you might be having?
Yeah.
How do you manage to do social media, which is like, I'm into the social media field and I can't do it. But I see you and a few other people who put out content like reels and everything, and I'm like, how are these people doing this? Like,
no, I do see some stuff off and on social media, and it's amazing how much time and energy that people put into it. For me, it's been very, very organic. I think I started social media much during the lockdown, and my daughter started it for me.
Right.
And it was again an accidental venture. I was not for social media. She just got me into it. And during the lockdown, I sort of committed myself that I want to share, because I'm anyway sitting at home, and I want to share as much as I can. And I strongly believe that, the more you share, the more you can absorb. So every time I'm learning, I'm seeing something nice, I'm reading a book, then I would kind of share that. And every Saturday, Sunday, we're just reading and listening to music, eating and, watching.
Yeah.
So that's our me time kind of thing. So the idea is that constantly I keep sharing those events, those inspirations that I see, my travel. And it's given back that satisfaction overall. But also during the pandemic is when I actively started doing social media with a lot of rules that we set at home, that you can't do this and you can't do that.
Like, which are?
Like, I mean, social media is only for me about positive inspiration. It's not about personal life, and it's not about, it's just about if somebody can gain something from that, and it's a little bit. So that's why we have two different pages. So one is ZZ Architects, which is a very work profile, and one is mine, which is more about how I think I live my life and how it's positive and how it can sort of have a small takeaway. Like my kid in London with her friends, they often say, oh, you did this, you did that, and it's that itself is so gratifying. You know? I meet a lot of people at the airport or small events or even at a supermarket, and they'll say, I follow you, and I'm like, okay, that's very sweet.
I follow you like since before I even thought that I will have you on the podcast. I followed you because I think I came across your one of the posts from the main architect, the design firm post, you know, somebody's house or something you must have done on the explore feed and everything. And then I started following you because I felt like, the positivity and the vibe that you're talking about, that you're seeing in me, I saw that in you as well. Like when I started following you, I'm like, this is such a, happy-go-lucky, nice person. Like when your reel comes up, like I'm not just saying this because you're here, I've been following you before that also, but I'm like, it felt good watching this. Like it like that, like, and that's a really special thing to have. Not many people have that.
No, but I'm telling you, the connect that I have with people on Instagram, it's amazing that I've always got positive feedback from anybody writing or DMing or meeting, which is so kind. I mean, I love them. I love you because you're on the platform. And I think you have great energy. I can't wait to see where you kind of land. After all your podcasts, maybe your final podcast, you can come back to ZZ, and I'll take it up with Papa Don't Preach and meet together in that, because that's the one of your podcasts that I have seen.
Right.
And like I said, we have something in common. We both started from New Bombay. So it's quite sweet. And
Shubhika and you.
Yeah, Shubhika. And I mean, I came to know about Shubhika from the page, which is also very, very interesting.
Wow.
So I love what you're doing. I think you're young and you've got the spirit. So I can't wait to see where you lead.
Thank you. But your authenticity shows, your authenticity shows, and it doesn't look like, when I talk about the social media, it doesn't look like forced. Nowadays people have PR teams and people have social media managers who create a schedule and a content plan, for the month or whatever. But when I look at your page or when something comes up, it looks very organic. It doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel like, somebody in the team has planned it. So of course people must be planning it, but it doesn't look forced, and it looks like you're enjoying it, and it comes across beautifully. So I just want to congratulate you on that.
Thank you. So I've actually done, there's never been PR for us. It's been very organic, and my partner always jokes when I'm sleeping in bed, he wants to wake me up, he put a camera on my face. It's like it's on Instagram, please get up, and he see the joy on my face, and he said, okay, now you're up.
Oh God.
So I think my family teases me for how biased I am to it. But thank you.
No. Oh, very well deserved. Now we'll move to a little bit more fun segment. It's called Curious Quick 5.
Okay.
So are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. What's the one thing that you're curious about, apart from architecture, design, fashion, travel, music, like something random, completely random?
Where we are going to be 5 years from now as a country.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. What's the one person that you're curious about, living or dead? It could be anyone.
I am curious about you before I met you.
I knew it.
I think I'm curious. I'm just like a person that if I meet anybody, if I'm taking a ride somewhere, I would know everything of the person that before I get off. So I really love to have a conversation with.
You like to get to know people.
Yes, and I've had some amazing conversations like that with people. So
What's the one place you're curious to travel to?
Actually, this year I don't want to travel much. I think we've done our quota last year. I really want to be just home and office and spend a lot of time. So currently, I don't have anything on the agenda.
I haven't reached that position yet.
And we were just talking accidentally yesterday, and we said that, if I'm just home and office for the next
6 months,
6 months, I'd really feel I won't miss anything.
Good. what's the one book or author that you're curious about? Or like, you know, you have like such a beautiful art collection in your office.
Yeah.
So you could mention even an artist, like a sculptor or an artist that you're curious about.
I always wanted a work of Takehiko Inoue, and he's written books like, I mean, he's a manga artist, and he's done Vagabond and Real and Slam Dunk, and I wanted, I mean, if you see one of these bookstores internationally, he actually physically went and painted an entire huge wall.
Wow.
And it's phenomenal. Yeah, so I'm curious about what he's doing next, and whether he's doing it at all.
Interesting, interesting. What's the one technology that you're curious about? People say AI, but is there any particular application that you're curious about in AI?
Currently, no. I think the team's really venturing into AI when it comes to, you know, at our end, and ChatGPT and, you know, all these kind of factors. What I am curious about is how we maintain authenticity, being flooded with technology around and still being who we are, you know, not getting over influenced or over consumed by it.
Yeah. Now we've reached the end of our conversation.
Yes.
So are there any last thoughts, feelings that you would like to share about being on the podcast today? How did you feel?
I think we've just begun. And
Yeah.
it's been an amazing conversation with you.
Thank you.
It's wonderful to meet you, and thank you for coming down all the way. Thank you to your team. Your team's brilliant. You know, I think it was amazing. And also that you're from Kutch has a very special connection for me.
Yeah.
This is one of my first podcasts.
First ever.
I think so, yes. I've done interviews, but I haven't done podcasts.
Yeah, because even when I searched, I couldn't find you.
Because I've always said no, and I've not been like doing many things, but when you wrote, it was just probably meant to happen. So thank you so much.
Yeah,
I'm glad you could just come by.
Thank you. I'm flattered that you chose me to talk about in detail about your journey.
Yeah.
And I hope there are many more conversations to follow from here.
Yes.
And I look forward to, you know, having another conversation with you soon.
Yes, and that will be more than just me. There'll be one more, you know, enterprising woman with me, which I've already told you.
I have to say this to Shubhika today. I have to.
Yes, I wanted to be Shubhika because I've seen it and I so enjoyed your conversation with her.
She's an amazing person.
So guys, you have to watch her and her beautiful method of questioning and diving deep into these minds, which I think is a great talent.
Thank you so much.
Thank
and
you.
Yeah, we'll do this soon.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure meeting
Same
you.
here.